Now, broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios inside Wellspan Park, here's Gary Sutton.
Where it's 8:05 on a Tuesday morning. It's February the 4th, 2025, and it is 39 degrees now. It's getting warm. Went up 1 whole degree this morning on Brooks Robinson Plaza here at Wellspan Park. I am Gary Sutton. Mark McKenzie here this morning.
Homemade soup day.
Yeah, and I said cream of crab for me. Moving on like wallpaper paste consistency. I like to stick it to your ribs, you know. Just,
and that's a bisque. But a bisque is a soup.
Yeah, a bisque is a soup. You said chili does not qualify as a soup.
I don't think so.
Chili qualifies as chili.
And I think chowder also qualifies as a soup. It's close.
Yeah.
Close to being a stew, but I don't think so.
Do you like your chili soup-like, or do you like it a little thicker
Chili,
than that?
I like it thick.
Me
thicker.
too. That's where I'm at.
And chowder, the same.
Yeah.
And, some they put a lot of corn in it. Others they don't.
Yeah.
Corn chowder, also very good, but nothing like a good hearty clam chowder.
You don't say it like a true New Englander, though. Where you're
How's
from,
that?
chowder.
You mean chowder?
Chowder.
Chowder, no.
You say chowder. You actually pronounce it the way it should be.
I do, just like February.
About time the rest of those people get in the game here, too. Come on, let's go. It's not chowder, it's chowder. Come on.
Oh, say it any way you want.
You're in America, Jack. Let's go. Anyway, welcome back and having a great time here this morning. You can text our show at 833-478-4729. Today is the 21st anniversary of Facebook, or as they called it back then, it was some other name they added, like the Facebook or something like that. And
it had the.
Yeah, got them to knock that out and knock it off, much like we should knock off chowder and make it chowder. But anyway, Ryan Fox with Houston Fox Financial Services is with us here this morning, and he's going to be a regular here every week as we go through about 4 different things every week, and he's with us here this morning. Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good, Gary. How about yourself?
I'm good, and in full disclosure, Ryan happens to also be my financial advisor, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm not saying go there, but you might want to go there. Yeah, he's pretty good, and I'll tell you what, he's helped me out over the years here, making some money and keeping an eye on my finances, which only takes about 1 second because there's not that many to them. But anyway, Ryan, good morning and great to have you on the show. So I want to get a general kind of news reaction to what's going on. I mean, we've had all this talk about tariffs the last few days. Now we don't have tariffs for 30 days because Mexico and Canada kind of knuckled under a little bit. Just a general reaction, maybe more as a citizen right now. A lot of people are saying, well, we're being bullies right now. We're kind of getting imperialistic. We're, throwing the gauntlet down on these countries. Are we trying to get things back in balance, or is Trump kind of going off the deep end here a little bit? What's your take on the whole deal?
I'll tell you, I was thinking about that this morning, and I was trying to come up with something that made sense in my mind. I had a client call me yesterday and thank me for what I'm doing. And I said, well, why are you calling right now? He goes, the headline. And I said, the headlines are like watching a NASCAR race right now. Every time you move and look and shift, something's changing places, something's crashing, something's taking the new lead. They come around a new turn. It gets loud, it gets soft, and then you say, wow, we're going to do it all over again. But you're right. Over the weekend, smacking those tariffs, and then what happened yesterday where the temporary, I'll say, embargo on the tariff.
Right.
And then overnight, China came out with tariffs. It's been absolutely fascinating how these things are starting to work out as hopefully negotiating tools, because long-term tariff trade wars are rarely an effective strategy because history tells us it just doesn't end well. But, you look at the market yesterday. The market opened down. At some point, it was the Dow was down close to 600 points. And I'm sitting here thinking, wow, this is what we're going to see, this kind of volatility. Well, then by the end of the day, it closed down just a little bit. And we're seeing the same thing this morning in markets with the news cycle as China tariffs came out. When they were announced, the Dow futures, which is just an indication of where the market may open, were way down. And now some of the futures are actually positive. So it's really hard to predict based on, the DC headlines that are coming out, what's going on. And for investors, we have to work really, really, really hard not to let our politics and the headline risk trickle down into knee-jerk reactions about, well, he's going to do this, I better do this. This is going to be good, I better get in that.
Right.
Because, again, like that NASCAR race, as soon as something takes the lead, something else is going to catch up. And then you see another major event and you see what happens. But, corporate earnings are still very, very solid. So when we look at the underlying economy, which is what drives the stock market, nearly 80% of companies have announced earnings recently, and they're doing very well. They're beating their profit estimates. January was a very good year for the stock market, and the January barometer is one that I kind of like, that there's an 89% chance the market goes higher from here when January is positive. Now, that means there's an 11% chance it doesn't. But, for people with a long-term horizon, we just need to stay patient, stay invested. Don't try to make knee-jerk reactions. Trump also came out recently and said he agreed with Jay Powell about not cutting interest rates, where a couple of days prior said, well, we better start lowering rates. So these headlines, the news cycle, I think it's something that for many people we can watch, put out of our mind, though, when it comes to our investments.
It seems like you have two things you got to think about right here that you kind of talked about, Ryan, as I listen. One, the short-term daily look, which is going to be volatile, and you look at what he says on a given day or what's being done in terms of policy on a given day or the changes that are being made. And then you look at, the bigger river. Those are kind of like fast-flowing streams. And you got this longer river like the Mississippi just kind of steadily flowing. And you wonder, what does that look like? Is that a fair comparison?
Yeah, that's actually a really good one. And as those rivers, as we head into retirement, those rivers tend to slow down. For a lot of people, they become a little less aggressive in portfolios. But the biggest thing for investors is to recognize, okay, whether I'm 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, or 90, what is our plan for our money? What do we want to do with it? What do we need it for? And that all kind of goes back to the idea of cash flows in retirement and what we need to do. For a lot of people in retirement, the only money they pull out each year is that required minimum distribution. And that's a very simple thing to work into portfolios. For others, they need a bigger cash flow. But nonetheless, any of those strategies, we have to always keep in mind the longer term, the bigger picture with what we're doing.
One of the things we're hearing about every day now, we can't get away from it, is DOGE, this Department of Government Efficiency with Elon Musk. And it's not really a separate cabinet office, although they're trying to make it that, I think, in the long run. But this idea that we're cutting out all this government waste, and they're taking a pickaxe to this thing right now on a whole lot of different levels. Does that portend well in the future? In other words, that we start to cut back on the amount of money that's being spent or wasted by the government and doing more with less? What does that look like down the line? Again, I know you can't predict the markets or anything like that, but just kind of a general thought on that.
Well, there are a lot of people who think government has gotten too big, that we have too much involved at the federal level. And if there's a way to produce efficiency, to me, it's like anything else. If we can get more gas mileage out of our tax dollars, it's a good thing. It might be difficult to get there, but the more we can stretch a tax dollar, the better it is for all of us. And at some point, we've got to start whittling away some of these extra spending programs. And I was surprised, some of the news that's come out, I wasn't real familiar with a couple of those departments, but it sounds like they're working really, really hard. And maybe you're right, it's taking a chainsaw to the issue to produce that efficiency. But anytime we can find efficiencies, that trickles into portfolios too. My business partner and I spent a couple of weeks earlier this year going through our investment strategies, looking for ways to become more efficient. And in the capital markets, there are a huge competitive situation going on right now where many of the underlying investments we use are fighting to drive down their internal costs. So what that means is that return now is squeezing out. It might be an extra tenth or a 0.25%, but that relates well to investor success. If we can do that at the federal level, we can squeeze a little bit more efficiency out. That's going to be better for all of us in the long term.
Brian, a general tip for today. I know you like to leave people a little tip each week. What would you have for people today?
Yeah, one thing I'm hearing a lot about, people are talking about their auto insurance rates are going up very, very quickly for a number of dynamics. In addition to shopping those around, talk to your agent first. Shop around, see if you can get some quotes, but also raise your deductible a little bit. A lot of people carry extremely low, like $100 deductible on their car. And that ties into homeowners, too, where they have very low deductibles. Push that deductible up a little bit. It's going to cut your premium in many cases because we're not going to submit these small claims. So maybe now's a good time, kind of start of the year, early in the year, talk to your agent. Hey, if I boost my deductible a little bit, does that save me some money?
And Ryan, for people that are looking around right now, maybe, some people are saying, I don't have a financial advisor. How do I determine to find one? I know you offer those kind of services, but you do it a little bit different way than a lot of people. Tell people about your business and how you do work and maybe where they can contact you.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. But real quick for Mark, go Eagles, and hopefully they win the Super Bowl. But yeah, we're fee-only fiduciaries. So what that means is our only compensation comes from our clients. So fee-only means there's a management fee that goes up or down based on how we do for client portfolios. That's in a contract. If we ever want to raise our fee, I have to go back to clients and get new contracts signed, and I don't like paperwork, so that's not going to happen. But a fiduciary means we are legally responsible to represent our client's best interests. So we do that and honestly, there are people come in, they have plenty of money for me to work with, but I'll look and say, I like what you're in, leave it where it's at. And I said, you don't need me right now. For others, what I'll say is, I think we can do a little better job. Let's sit down and have a further conversation about it. But we're happy to talk to anybody, no matter how big or small their portfolio is. And again, we're fee-only fiduciaries, which kind of sets us apart from a lot of different firms that don't quite operate that way.
And where can people call you?
Yeah, you can give me a buzz right here in the office. It's 717-398-2040. Happy to answer any question. And if it leads to, a need to meet, we're happy to do that, whatever's comfortable for the prospective client.
So, Ryan, I think we would say carefully today, Doge would like you. Accountability and efficiency, you're doing pretty good on that, aren't you?
Try our best. Yeah, we really try our best to be as lean an operation as possible so that we don't have a whole lot of different, steps in our process, and it keeps our corporate structure pretty lean.
And I'll tell you how lean they are. If you call that number, 398-2040, 717 area code, you'll talk to Ryan. Okay, he wants to talk to you, so you're not going to have to go through the bureaucracy to get to him. He's right there with you. Houston Fox Financial Advisory Services. I'll tell you what, I went on with Ryan years ago, and he's done a great job for me. Maybe he can do a great job for you. Check him out, 717-398-2040. And Ryan, we look forward to talking with you again next week, and we'll be figuring out something specific we'll be hitting around next week as well. Thank you, my friend.
Hey, looking forward to it. Thanks, Gary. I appreciate your time.
Ryan Fox, check him out today, 717-398-2040. He's a regular on our show every week here on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK. We'll take a break. When we come back, we got some more interesting news coming your way. And straight ahead, Joe Decree, Major retired Joe Decree, on some of the things that are happening in the big news. He'll have some comments on that at 8:35. This is the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK. Text us, 833-478-4729.